This is the Alien Podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back for the penultimate episode of Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 7, Emergence.
Go away, I'm busy!
Wait, what are you talking about? We're never busy.
Shh, keep your voice down!
You're being a shit.
Please leave me alone, Smee. Leave me alone, please. Somebody's gonna hear you, Smee.
I don't care. Let me in. I know something's going
I'm
on.
gonna ruin everything.
What are you talking about? What?
Oh, can I...
Is somebody hiding? It's a person. What did you do?
Welcome back, fellow lost boys and girls. This is TV Podcast Industries. We're chatting about Alien Earth, Episode 7, Emergence, the penultimate episode of Season 1. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Lost Boys and fellow aliens. I am one of your other hosts, John.
So, did you catch what I was saying in there, John, in the intro? Season 1, Episode 7, because I feel like we are going to get a Season 2 of Alien Earth now as we get close to the end of this first season.
I really hope so. Maybe it's Alien Saturn.
Maybe.
Or Mars or something like that, because they do own planets as well. So, I mean, it is set on Earth. I think the great thing is that it is Alien : Earth, so they can always, mix it up. It doesn't have to be on Earth. This story could conclude, at least from an alien point of view.
Yeah.
Or xenomorph point of view.
Yeah.
Who knows around whether they would want to carry it through around the hybrids or a little offshoot called the Eye.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Or something like that. Again, we've just started our coverage of Season 2 of The Boys Generation V, Gen V. And, that's a spin-off of The Boys.
That's right.
So,
very successful.
Again, it might be possible to have that sort of spin-off and see how sort of the genre and the actual property of Alien and aliens can sort of be developed on TV.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, this is really, really good.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I just get the feeling that since Noah Hawley did 3 seasons of Legion and it's now on season 5 of Fargo, and is the showrunner for this show, I have a feeling that he has in the back of his mind that he can have this show go on for a little while with new stories.
Yeah. Great to see what happens in a season 2.
Absolutely. Like I heard mention, of the idea that obviously the hybrids can last for a couple of 100 years. They only have to be charged every 2 or 3 years, isn't it? So if they have the charging technology, you could literally set the show another 100 years down the line and have the hybrids still looking the same way as they do in season 1. Joe wouldn't be there, unfortunately. Well, he may have been maybe carried around as a skeleton trophy, maybe, but
maybe
you never know. As we get to the end of the season, I just feel like there's a lot to wrap up in the final episode.
Well, that is true,
and close out the story completely. Considering how many Alien movies there are as well, and how many sequels that got, I wouldn't be too surprised if we don't hear rumblings of an Alien Earth season 2, set maybe in US, in Yutani territory, maybe next time or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even restrict it to Earth.
But it's already been set in space for 40, 50 years, and nobody can hear you scream up there. At least people can hear you scream at Earth. So.
That is true. And I have to say, I did really like seeing the alien kind of outdoors, in a sense. I was like, finally it's gone its walk.
Exactly, yes.
I did like that. And it's also just because you see it so often in dark corridors, on spaceships, on space stations. And so seeing it through lush green undergrowth, I mean, even like Prometheus, the world was grey. It was overcast with clouds. The green had a subdued greyness to it. Everything seemed washed out with sort of just desperation because of what that planet represented.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was brilliant thematically to have it like that, but seeing the alien here, in such technicolor, and even just the mottling of this particular alien, seeing it with blood on it as well,
absolutely.
it's just really, really good.
Actually, this alien, the colouring of it does kind of look a little bit like it's able to camouflage quite well in greenery, because it's slightly greener, it feels, than the really dark black that we've seen, the inky black of the normal xenomorph that we've seen in the past. But enough of that. Let's get into our chat all about this episode. And a reminder, as John mentioned there, we are covering Gen V, the second season of the spin-off from The Boys, over on our main feed. You can get that over on tvpodcastindustries.com. I finally just refreshed the website, John, and made everything much, much easier to find. So you can find all of the podcasts that you may want to listen to, from The Boys to Sandman to all the Alien podcasts as well.
Excellent stuff. And of course, to our fellow listeners, our fellow industrialists, and in particular, if you are fellow Lost Boys or just joining us for our coverage of Alien Earth, please pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast on any good or evil podcast player of your choice.
Absolutely. And we do want to hear from you. We want to hear your emails and your thoughts on the next episode of Alien Earth, and this episode, of course. We'll be recording a little bit later next week because I'm away next time. We're recording a little bit earlier this week than usual. So we'll hopefully do a finale episode where we'll get all of your feedback on episode 7 and episode 8 and all your thoughts on how the season ended. You can email them to us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or pop it over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, where there's a spoiler post up for each of the shows and each of the episodes of the shows that we're covering, where you can chat with everybody else about your thoughts and we can read them out on the podcast.
Excellent stuff. Derek, let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion and give us some of the episode details for episode 7, Emergence.
Well, the show is based on characters created by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, with H.R. Geiger, as we've mentioned every episode. The showrunner for the show is Noah Hawley, who also is a co-writer for this episode, but writing at this time with Maria Melnik. Maria is new to Alien Earth, but most recently worked on the Godzilla spin-off, Monarch, for Apple TV. Cool. That was a really good fun show, wasn't it?
Yeah, loved that.
Yeah, like it was much more focused on the humans, but you did get to see lots of different kaiju all around the planet, which was quite cool. You
certainly did. Yeah, I really had a soft spot for that show.
Yeah, and an interesting cross-time two-hander from Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt Russell, who we all know from Falcon the Winter Soldier and Thunderbolts this year as well. So kind of cool to have Wyatt Russell playing a young version of Kurt Russell over there. But episodes of that show written, as I said, by Maria Melnik. The episode was directed by Dana Gonzales, who's directed most of the episodes this season. Dana directed episode 2 and 3, and he's also directing the next episode, episode 8, the finale of the season as well. So
50%.
Yeah, exactly. Quite literally.
Exactly.
4 of 8, yes. John, do you want to give us the synopsis for this episode of Alien Earth episode 7, Emergence?
Sure. Things take a dark turn as Smee stumbles upon slightly hiding Arthur's unconscious body in his bedroom. In a desperate move, Slightly convinces him to help smuggle Arthur to the beach and deliver him to Morrow. Meanwhile, back at the secure laboratory, cleanup crews scramble to contain the chaos left by the flies, as Kirsch explains to Boy Kavalier that the chaos was no accident. When Wendy arrives at the lab, she becomes outraged that the company is calling Isaac's death an accident. She recruits Nibs to join her and Joe in making a run for it, but Wendy is not leaving quietly. Before she goes, she hacks into the system and unleashes the grown xenomorph from the lab. This monster-sized distraction tears through the cleanup crew, soldiers, and the facility, disappearing into the forest. Out in the wild, Kirsch crosses paths with Slightly and Smee dragging Arthur's body, and surprisingly helps them find a faster route to the beach. Floor B7. Then, as they hide from patrolling Prodigy soldiers, Arthur wakes up. The facehugger falls off, seemingly dead, and as memories start flooding back, he insists they return. But it's too late. A newborn xenomorph erupts from his chest and vanishes into the woods. The hybrids carry Arthur's corpse to the beach, where Morrow and a Yutani raid team arrive. Morrow is not happy with Slightly. No facehugger, no newborn xenomorph, just a corpse with a hole in its chest. Morrow takes them captive. After Kirsch has revealed to Boy Kavalier that Oculus was responsible for the lab disaster, the Boy Kavalier becomes excited and very intrigued at the 8-legged monster and decides it's time to give the creature a human host, claiming he is just the person in mind. Back in the forest, Marcy, Joe and Nibs are ambushed by the second team of Yutani's soldiers, but Marcy pulls off a miracle, using her connection with the grown xenomorph to turn the tide. The creature wipes out their attackers but spares the trio. Marcy soothes it, solidifying a chilling bond. As Morrow and his men push into the Prodigy facility, they are met by Kirsch, now in control of the newborn xenomorph from Arthur's chest. He flips the script and takes Morrow and his team captive, while Smee and Slightly are grounded. Marcy, Joe and Nibs finally reach the boat, and freedom appears to be within sight. But Neverland security and enforcers show up. As tensions boil over, Nibs snaps and brutally kills a soldier, forcing Joe to take her down. Marcy, stunned by Joe's sudden ruthlessness, confronts him, all while the xenomorph watches them from the foresty shadows.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to go very well for that security team.
No. And I think Joe's in a little bit of trouble as well.
Joe's in a lot of trouble. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think Wendy really appreciates what Joe has done. I mean, no. I think Joe wasn't as such trying to kill her, but he's used like that mega taser on her. And it did sound like a record slowing down as she was kind of the batteries were sort of running out here.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like she had gone.
Yeah. Because
she had been shot previously by Siberian.
With just bullets. That's fine for the hybrids. It's just probably because Wendy Marcy had specifically told Joe that you saved me because I'm your sister, so you absolutely understand my feelings about the rest of my team, and the only one of them that she got out of there was Nibs, and now he's turning on Nibs. So it's like as if Nibs had turned on Joe, or any of the other hybrids had turned on Joe. Marcy would have been just as angry as she is here, saying, "What did you do to Joe?" Because this is her final connection to humanity. We know her parents are dead. We know she's gone through this whole conscious discussion with Dame Sylvia about the idea that maybe she should cut ties with humanity if this is what they're like, and Joe's just done exactly what she didn't expect him to do.
Yeah, exactly.
She thought that her insistence would have made Joe treat the rest of her family like he treats her and lay down his life for them like he would for her. So, massive moment. But let's get on to our top moments from the episode, John. Let's start out with chest bursting with love. Our opening top moment from the episode really is going to be talking about Slightly, Smee and Arthur and the eventual meeting up with Morrow, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think first off, I absolutely love these two characters of Slightly and Smee.
Yep.
I think in particular, they just work so well together. I mean, I know Slightly has been on a journey that has really aged him quickly in terms of the grooming from Morrow, the brutality of Morrow in how he speaks to him and his actions, however remotely to his mother and family. It's just so brutal. And yet he still has this childlike and child connection to Smee. And so I must say, I do think Adarsh Gurav has just done so well as this pressured child, trying to do something for the good of his family, trying to be still good to his friends, in particular Smee, and knowing that he's lying to them but doesn't want to.
Yeah, Darsh has just been fantastic there, and you used a phrase that a lot of people may use in a circumstance like this, the phrase of he's grown up before his time because he's gone through so much trauma. And people like this character of Morrow, who's grooming Slightly throughout these last 3-4 episodes, that's how he's treating Slightly. He's treating him like, I'm putting you through all of this and now you're a grown adult and now you can take the pressure that I'm putting on you. When he does finally meet him, he says to him, why are you whining and moaning like a child? That's what a child does. An adult takes responsibility for their faults and for their actions. when he's doing nothing of the sort. Morrow's doing nothing like that. He's forcing slightly into this box as if he is an adult. In some way, he's not at all. He's just a child that's within the body of an adult, and that's it. He's getting no guidance there. And the way it's being played by Ardash Gurov is just fantastic.
Absolutely.
But these two together, it's just chemistry on screen.
It really is. It really is. And I think even, Jonathan Ajay, has been fantastic. Like, in a sense, he's had almost the smallest part, yet each time. And actually, if anything, the part is much more physical than talkative. Yes, he is talkative. It's not that he doesn't speak in any way.
Yeah.
But I just love the physicality of how he brings childlike naivety and honesty and friendship to the character of Smee, and in particular how it's directed towards others, and in particular slightly, because you have this moment where Arthur is on the beach where he goes, he's sensing that something's not quite right, because he's had that kind of sort of memory fog from effectively, having a embryonic monster injected down into his chest. And it starts to come back, but he suddenly realizes that these two guys are lying, but they're not very good at it, because he says children have to learn to lie. The more you lie, the more you've got to continue with that lie and lie further. And I can see that that's happening here with you. And you just have this moment where Smee crosses his arms and he's kind of just going from side to side. And I think I remember doing that kind of stuff. And I was just like, it's so well done. And then in an instant, he's forgotten and he's like, okay, well, we'll go back, and holds Arthur's hand. Like the adult directing the way back, like crossing the road or whatever.
It's just a wonderful scene there. And you're absolutely right to call it out. The moment and how Arthur says the words that he says to him about he can see them as the children they are. He's been with them since the very beginning, effectively, since this whole process began. And he can see the children that have never learned to lie, and it will take them time. They don't have that yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then says to them, I am a person who loves you, and people like me who love you will be able to resolve anything. As long as we get together and you tell us the truth, we can sort this out. And it's a real moment of hope just there. We know as the audience who've seen Alien movies that this will not last long, but it's a lovely moment between the three of them when Arthur reaches out his hand and Smee takes one hand and slightly takes the other hand. They start to walk up the beach. It is that moment of where I'm sure these young children, these 8-9-year-olds that are in the bodies, are going, oh, finally an adult is here, an adult is going to help us, an adult is going to take care of us. And it just goes really wrong from there, really.
Well, you get the chest bursting scene of this series so far. And yes, it goes from being one where it's like, I'm being cared for, I can relax, I don't need to have the weight of the world on me. That's been taken by Arthur, and he's told me what to do and what we're going to do, and everything seems to be going okay. And then it's just the pure shock, stress, and like just scare of the chest burster coming out of Arthur. You have Arthur then dead. You have Smee turning to Slightly saying, you lied to me. They only agreed to come and help you because you said he was going to be okay. You've got Slightly concerned again what's going to happen to his family. And in the end, because the young xenomorph has slithered out into the woodlands and they've not been able to catch it. And all Slightly can think of doing is, well, I'll take the body tomorrow. And they both, head off, dragging the body of Arthur tomorrow. So it all turns on a dime here with the chest burster.
And it's almost like Slightly is saying and making that decision to bring the body to Morrow because he wants to show Morrow he tried to do everything he could.
Exactly.
When he gets there and he says to him, you told me I had more time. You told me that all I had to do was get the body here. I did everything you told me to do. You told me to hide him out overnight, which I did in his bedroom. You know, this dead body almost of Arthur overnight. You can see when he's watching over him, he's trying to feed him. He knows it's been a very long time since this human has had any food at all. He tries to feed him underneath the facehugger, and that gets the facehugger to tighten its grip on Arthur's throat. So he's terrified in this situation, and he's almost there. He's very close to getting Arthur across to Morrow before the facehugger turns into the chestburster and bursts out of the body of Arthur. So I think he's in total shock here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I do think as well, it just shows the relativity of it. You know, slightly does feel older than Smee, you know, and then, when he's with Morrow, you see him acting like a child, and you realize, you know, and Morrow then again being uncompromising with him. You know, you failed. Adults own their mistakes, as you say. Yeah. And you see slightly just acting like a child here. So it's just really, really well done. I mean, the other big shock that I really enjoyed, which was more for Smee and Slightly, is where they are hiding from that Prodigy patrol, and they go into the bushes off the path, and they look round, and Arthur's no longer there, and you just hear Smee say to Slightly, "Where did we put it?" And then this facehugger drops, and I have to say, I wonder if it is one of those moments where Noah Hawley absolutely did not say to those two actors what was going to happen in that moment, other than that Arthur would not be there, because Adash, who plays Slightly, the drop of that facehugger from the tree, he really seems to be screaming. It's just so well portrayed. Like, if it's just pure acting, then it's fantastic. But it looks like it's got a little hint of truth about it.
I think so, yes.
And a bit the same, I think, as well with Jonathan, who plays Smee. And I just thought that was really good. And I was like, is that the same thing as with John Hurt from the original Alien?
Oh god. Yeah. It's similar to that. Yeah, I wonder if it was just simply that they didn't know where it was going to come from, and the fact that it comes down from the tree above them would be absolutely terrifying when you're playing in that moment, when you're pretending, when you're acting that you're in that moment of wondering what the hell's going on, and then something drops out of the air. Yeah, you can see why they were freaking out. But I love it. It's a fun little horror touch. There's no possible way that Arthur's body could have gotten up, walked away, and then walked back into the scene without them noticing. They were only gone for about 20 seconds.
It's even then, as Arthur's awake and he comes back and he points at the facehugger and goes, "What's that?"
Exactly.
Like, he's got no recollection here. I just thought that was really, really good.
Absolutely. I've just got two more things about this scene, both related to Kirsch, to talk about. What is Kirsch doing? This moment where we have Boy K kind of freaking out by the fact that everything has gone crazy, which we'll talk about in another point in a second. But he tells Kirsch to go off and do something useful, and Kirsch goes, okay. And next we see is him standing in front of Slightly and Smee going, why are you taking the body out this way? Here's a much quicker way out of the building. Go to floor B7. On your way, boys. You'll be late. You're going, so you know all about the arrangement to meet him with Morrow? Well, he seems to know everything.
Well, he does, because he's heard the conversations, he's listened in. But I agree. I love the way this plays out, both in terms of, as you say, Boy Kavalier just telling him, be useful. And then the next thing, it's Slightly and Smee going through into this sort of corridor with Arthur and the facehugger on. So it all seems really farcical and bizarre what's going on.
Because there's even a moment when the body is on one side of the screen, Slightly and Smee are looking at Kirsch. Kirsch is looking at them. The body's off to the right, and in a comedy, that would be he never sees the body while he's standing there. But Kirsch instantly knows what's going on, of course.
But he also says, what are you doing, guys? And Slightly immediately kind of spills all the beans. And he's like, no, what are you doing going that way? Take the secure elevator.
Like, I know that. How would you think I don't know that?
Yeah, it is just, I love how it kind of, it's slightly farcical the way it goes, but it is. Is he working with Morrow? That was my immediate thing, because it's like he's helping them get to Morrow, or is he working the angles in that he's helping them get to Morrow, but ultimately so that he knows where Morrow is so he can capture him or at least keep tabs on him.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We were watching, because Marvel Zombies is coming up in about a week's time. We were watching Marvel What If, where there's a whole arc of a story about the Ultron arc playing to its final end from Marvel's Avengers, Age of Ultron, where Ultron realizes that the way to save Earth is to stop all wars and kill all humans, basically. And it kind of feels like that's where Kirsch's mind is at times, where he's playing all the angles and going, well, I was told to be useful. What would be most useful to whatever end it is that I have in sight? Yeah. Well, what's most useful is to get the boys tomorrow. Since that doesn't work out, we hear Morrow's take on that, which is, that didn't work out, let's go for the specimen, basically. So he kind of probably knew that it wasn't a definite that they get Arthur there with the facehugger attached or with the chestburster inside, but they go after the xenomorph, or the baby xenomorph, and it turns out that Kirsch has gotten there before them. He gets the net down on top of it pretty easily, and basically says tomorrow when Morrow arrives, finders keepers, playtime's over. Put your gun down.
Yeah, drop your weapons. Nobody likes a sore loser.
It's just not a game.
You know, basically Morrow is surrounded, and Morrow has the gun on Slightly and says, like, "What have you done?" And in fairness to Slightly and Smee, we know that Prodigy can view through their eyes because we saw that on the crash site. Yeah. So with Kirsch, who has been walking around with his little tablet, he more than likely is able to see exactly where they are, where they're going, and can direct his soldiers there. Or he knows that anyway, knows that they're going to get locked up, but that allows Morrow, so again, to do whatever he needs to do. So again, there's still a possibility that Kirsch is working with Morrow, or that he's just simply worked the angles here to capture the enemy of his employer, in terms of the Yutani infiltration team, which is headed by Morrow. Again, Kirsch is how he is around the children. I like that he says to Smee and Slightly, "You two over here, you're grounded." It's just really well done.
Absolutely.
I must say, I'm really enjoying Timothy Oliphant doing this character, and just the way some of the lines come out are absolutely on point for me. I really like it. Yeah. But I do. There's still this grey area between these two for sure.
Yeah.
I think it will be interesting to see in episode 8.
Absolutely. I wonder what's going to happen there. Let's get on to Boy K, I think we'll go to for our second moments from the episode. I'll save the big one for last. Just because Boy K seems to be having a lot of joy in this episode. We're going to call this one the Pie Alien as our point, and you probably know why because you've seen the episode. but it's just from the start of this episode. We know that the attack happened last episode where Isaac was killed by the fly. That all has to be dealt with. The human cleaners have to come in and clear out the room before Kirsch can go in, so he's standing at the door observing, and then you see Boy K running down to the lab so excitedly, and it's just a really interesting moment. I don't know, it reminded me of, weirdly, in The Phantom Menace, when Obi-Wan is trying to chase down Darth Maul and the screen comes down right in front of him to block his running. That's almost what it felt like for Boy K. He was running so fast he almost ran through the door into the lab and then was stopped by Boy K. I guess it's because every single door opens at his command in this building except for this lab. And the only reason it doesn't is because Kirsch has made sure he won't die.
And it's a secure lab.
It's totally secure, yeah. And he says to him, wait outside, and there's just that kind of tension where Boy K's out there going, oh, I want to see what's happening in here, all the excitement of these killers having killed something. He comes into the room and instantly goes, so what's happened here? Kirsch tells him that one of the kids made a mistake, one of the hybrids made a mistake, and he goes, he uses the insult that was thrown across the table at him from Yutani last week. He goes, I'll send him to bed without any supper, jokingly, and then realizes not really much to joke about here. Isaac is very much not going to be having any food, supper, or bed in the future.
I think the interesting thing as well is that, he's kind of gets fascinated about what Kirsch is saying. So Kirsch is like saying, yes, it seems like the flies digest their food externally and then hoover it up. And it would seem that organic material was scarce on their planet, so they were able to sort of digest and extract minerals from inorganic items. And you see Boy Kavalier kind of going, oh, okay, and then all of a sudden you have Kirsch saying, but this was not an accident, you need to watch the tape. And he watches the tape, and you see the moment where the sheep inhabited by Tootles bangs into the side of the glass cell, so to knock Isaac off balance or startle him, so he goes off balance and then ultimately slips and gets descended on by the flies because the door's closed. And you see this intense interest and worked up sort of excitement bubbling up inside Boy Kavalier as he gets very interested. And I think he says, "Oh, the calculation,"
exactly.
And you kind of have Kirsch trying to sober him up a bit with it all and saying, well, there's a degree of cause and effect with all animals, an acknowledgement of that, but he is seeing, that this is like something more that he needs to sort of investigate.
Because the difference here is what Kirsch is talking about is, I bang my head off window, I startle human. That's it. But what Boy Kavalier is seeing here is a very intelligent creature who has said, bang head off window, startle creature, door closes, other creature gets to eat this creature. So he's seeing the full 5-6 steps of what's going to happen. It's not just a simple cause and effect that Kirsch is saying, it's significantly more than that. So he's thinking way beyond Kirsch's idea that this is just an intelligent being from across the stars.
Agreed. But
he's instantly going, I found intelligent life from across the space. Yeah.
Agreed. But I do think Kirsch is also just trying to get him to settle down and sober up from his excitement.
Yeah.
And then you can see it later on after Tootles has been moved into his office with Atomine's, where, again, he's just trying to, in a sense, keep it all rational with Boy Kavalier.
Mm-hmm. And I love that Boy K completely misunderstands what Atomine's is saying to him. Atomine's is saying, do you not think it's a bit dangerous bringing the Tootles up here, this creature that's already killed one of the most expensive things you've ever created? $6 billion, I think, is what the cost that Boy K puts on it when he finds out that you can't get Isaac back. And Boy K completely misinterprets that warning from Atomine, saying, what if it gets out and gets into the human population, and turns it into, oh yes, that's a great idea, Atom. I'm going to put it into a human where I can walk and talk and speak with a voice maybe, and then I can understand it. That's really concerning. Not only does Boy K not take direction well from people, or not take any kind of bureaucracy from anybody else, he also doesn't take warnings from the people that are closest to him and understand how his mind works. Really concerning. And the reason why Boy K gets even more excited is because he thinks this creature is massively intelligent, so he sets him the pi challenge. I don't think I'd know the next 3 digits in pi without a calculator in front of me. Would you, John?
I used to be able to. Yeah. I think. I don't know if I really 3.14. 3.141. Is it 5? I can't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I used to, because I remember how far could you get. Now I just realise you only need to know 3.14.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I loved this scene as well. As I say, it mirrored, reflected on what happened in the secure lab between Boy Kavalier and Kirsch. I think generally Atom Eins is not happy at all with what's going on, let alone the sheep being moved into Boy Cavalier's office, because it just increases the risk. As I think it's very funny where he gives Tootles the challenge to recount the sort of the next three digits of pi after 3.14, and you get it stomping, and then it just does a shit.
Exactly.
And then starts to bleat and bleat, and that's when Boy Kavalier just gets very excited again, and you have Atom Iron saying, just so to repeat, I need to restate, this is not a good idea. And then he says, what about if we embed it into a human? And you just have Atom Irons going, I'll start a list. And Boy Kavalier is smiling. He's like, no, wait, I know exactly who to use. And you're just like, oh no, who's he thought of here? I have a feeling it's Atom Irons that he's thought of.
I got three, yeah.
But we've also had this theory that he might be a synth. So I don't know whether that would work. I then was kind of like, if it's not Atom Irons, would it be Dame Sylvia? But that's a risk, because she's the one that knows all the research that has been done. In order to get the hybrid. Atom Irons would go, that is a huge corporate financial risk in terms of the investment that you've made. And we've suddenly found out that the restore and replace has cost, 6 billion and has failed. He goes, that's another lot of money down the drain, as you say, in order to get Tootles back online, and that's not going to work. So yeah, Atom Irons is just kind of like, okay, I'm going to order my flight out of here.
I think he should be. I think he should. There's just that moment, where he's kind of going, well, you're my right-hand man. It would be perfect to have the eyeball inside you. That was my first thought as well. But then I was going, well, Arthur's really pissed him off here. He's taken all the cameras offline, so the hybrids can't be monitored anymore. Yeah. He's given the code to Joe. So if he finds Arthur alive, maybe he thinks, put the eyeball inside him.
Yeah, he's also concerned about Wendy. She arrives in the lab and gets very animated about the situation that's happened with Isaac, and that in a sense it comes across when she asks what's happened. You have Kirsch go science, which I thought was a really funny deadpan way. In fact, I just thought of my university supervisor when he said that,
Dave,
who would have just gone science.
Science in action, yes. That's very funny. But yes, it's another great deadpan moment from him. But also when Wendy leaves there, that's what sets her in motion. We'll talk about that story in a minute. But that's what sets her in motion, because she says you can't just erase things, because they're trying not to let her look at Isaac's body. And when she does look at it, she realizes how brutal it is, and realizes that they weren't even going to tell her that bad things can kill these specimens, these special specimens that are in there. The other person that I would say that Boy K might have in mind is Joe himself. There was that moment when they came in to interrogate Dame Sylvia about where Arthur was. Boy K called Arthur the spouse, not even giving him his real name, and has called Joe the brother all the way through this, because they're not people that are important to him. They're people that may be important to other people that are important to him, like Dame Sylvia, who's now leading the project, and like Marcy, who's the lead member of the hybrids. But he doesn't give a toss about Joe or about Arthur, right? So, but they could be people that he could use if he needed to have a body to put the Teoculus into.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Or is he considering himself?
Well, the thought did cross my mind, but I think even that would be a bit too much.
I feel like he'd want to do a bit of an experiment, put it into somebody else's body. If it works, and he feels like he can have a conversation with it, then he may take it on board himself. It
would seem out of character for him, given that he has, however short a time it may have been, because he's still kind of knee-high to a grasshopper, really. He's still got the research and development that he's willing to put behind to actually understand and find out what goes on.
Maybe.
I do. I don't. To me, that would feel out of character if he suddenly put himself, like, however much he might be excited about getting into the lab, he doesn't want to get into the lab in order to die. because he wants the power and the consciousness of power, and if that eyeball is in his mind, it's no longer him.
But I think he might put it into something else, have that conversation, find out whether he would be a hybrid with the eyeball. And if he is, then maybe take the eyeball himself. So it's something that only he can have, and have that conversation at the end of time that he's always wanted to have. That's why he created the hybrids at the beginning, remember, weren't created for any huge benefit of the world. They were for him to have a conversation with something intelligent enough to have a conversation with. And here he is, eyeball to eyeball with the Teoculus.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope not personally.
Yeah.
I don't think that would make any sense.
Oh, right.
Maybe down the line when he knows how he can control it and how it can interact.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But that's not... If that happens in an episode, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's see what happens next week on next week's episode.
It's for me, anyway, personally.
But it is a really interesting idea. It's springing out from the concept that once he got these creatures into his offices, into his labs, he had already forgotten the whole concept of the hybrids. What were they for? He stopped working on them. They can just take care of themselves now. They're alive. That my job's done. Moving on to these, and now he's maybe focusing on his future conversation with the alien in future with the Teoculus. So let's see how that plays out.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is certainly the thing that's got his interest for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, again, is he looking at it, for him personally or as another product line? Certainly Atom Irons will look at it as a product line.
Exactly. And I think part of the reason why Boy K is alive is because of people like Atom Irons, who tells him what he must do, and Kirsch, who blocks him out of places where he might get killed if he just walks in the door without thinking about it. So if neither of them are around, what's going to happen to him? Hopefully, he gets taken out in a quite brutal way, because he's been an absolutely horrible character all throughout this season. Right, I think that's enough of Boy K for this episode, John. Let's get on to our other major trio, I guess. Let's start out with Marcy and Joe, Wendy and Joe. Marcy finds out about the death of Isaac, as we mentioned, and goes back to her room. Joe comes into her to talk to her about what she's seen, effectively, and also that he has the plan to get out of here, that Arthur gave him the code for the boat, and all they have to do is get out of the building. But Marcy's not willing to go until she takes the rest of her hybrids along with her. She knows Isaac's gone. She goes off to find Nibs, and Curly is in the room with her. And there's an interesting kind of back and forth between Curly and Marcy here, isn't there? Curly wondering what Marcy did to Nibs. She's broken her basically by exposing the fact that she's had her mind wiped of the last couple of weeks by Boy K.
Yeah.
And Nibs does seem very different. She seems like she's lost it.
Yeah, I mean, Curly really is not happy with Wendy. You know, as you say, she does say, "What did you do to her?"
Yeah.
And Wendy still wants them to go, but Curly doesn't. And she says, "This is the best place I've been."
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because actually just in that moment, Wendy is starting to do what she's been blaming Boy Kirsch and others like Dame Sylvia of doing, which is we know best. What, you know, now in the end, she allows Curly to absolutely stay behind if she wants. But I think Curly's point here is, well, we're all fine until you decided to bring your brother here. And she's like, don't blame him. I'm not. I'm blaming you.
Yeah.
And I think Curly feels oppressed by Wendy's dominance as that lead person. But it's not tender. And we see that moment later where Curly is with Dame Sylvia. And again, a bit like with Arthur just before the chest burster. Yeah. It's this comforting, it becomes very childlike, where Curly is curled up with Dame Sylvia on the armchair. And, you know, Dame Sylvia is just stroking her hair, calming her down, and it's just...
Curly's calling her mom there as well. And I don't think there's any coincidence that both of them had their hair down. It's both looking very curly. They actually look like mother and daughter in this scene, I think. Both Australian actresses, or at least both with Australian accents. So you could see the both of them as mother and daughter here. Just having Curly be comforted, saying things are just getting hard and I don't know what to do here. it's kind of that moment, I'd say, where Dame Sylvie, who's had a pretty bad couple of weeks of people coming into her and shouting at her for all the things she hasn't done, having a moment where one of the hybrids that she's kind of given life to is coming to her asking her for comfort. And she says nothing other than, I'm here, and strokes her hair. She doesn't have a conversation. She doesn't sit down and put her in the therapist chair and ask questions about her. She just hugs her and gives her comfort, like the mother that she needs in that moment. Which, you know, really, when you look throughout everything that happens in all of the episodes so far, the one thing that these hybrids have missed is comfort from the people around them. They were effectively just dropped in adult bodies and then treated like adults and ignored. That scene that opened up this arc, I suppose, of the episode with Marcy Wendy talking to Boy K. He's telling her, you can't tell the other kids that they might be in danger, because you know what kids are like. When they get it in their head, they're going to go, we're in danger, we're scared, and run away. Not thinking of the fact that Wendy is actually younger than some of the other hybrids that are out there. She gets that idea in her head. Everything drops out of her mind, and she goes, hang on a second, you're saying it's dangerous here? And then that's it, she's gone. Yeah. She's out of there. She instructs the xenomorph to bang on the glass, effectively, to scare the people who are blocking her into that room. She gets out of there, and then after that, to create a distraction, she releases that xenomorph from the lab, killing everybody in the lab there. She doesn't care about these people anymore at all, because she was told by Boy K that she's not safe there. If he hadn't said that to her, and don't tell anybody else, Wendy probably wouldn't have had the idea that she isn't safe.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I mean, you have Boy Kavalier saying to Kirsch, you know, track her, don't let her get to the others before we do. And I mean, I think with Boy Kavalier, it's just the fact that he's too invested in the program and then has become too distracted away from it. With the arrival of all these monsters. So he has let the ball drop by not being there, but also whether it's Atom Ainz's input, the lack of Boy Kavalier's input, you know, Dame Sylvia was about this should be an experience like adolescence.
Yeah.
In effect, what she's doing to Curly there, being supportive when Curly needs it, allowing those memories, in a sense, I'm guessing, to mature beyond that, so that happens very infrequently. I just wonder whether maybe there is a little bit missing around the tension that we were kind of exposed to or given a window into between Kirsch, his view of these hybrids and whether they're human or not, and Dame Sylvia's, and actually seeing a little bit more of them possibly butting heads, coming to sort of, again, different understanding or as to what should be done next, or indeed Kirsch possibly imposing his idea on them. I mean, that's what you kind of got from Wendy in the last episode. Well, Kirsch has said that we aren't human.
Yeah.
And why should we be if you're people and you're the thing that's wrong here? Yeah. What should I do then? Like, back to Wendy's conversation with Dame Sylvia. So there's clearly been this kind of existential, philosophical tension between different members on this research program.
You're totally right. I just love how it's kind of the two sides of the argument feeding through Wendy last episode and coming out through in Wendy's voice, you know, Kirsch's words coming out through her voice, saying to Dame Sylvia, you know, what if you were the problem? Because I've been told by Kirsch that this is the way. You know, that sometimes happens, I guess, with, you know, broken homes, with one parent telling the child something while they're with them, and then you go back to your own home and deal with the other parent and have to deal with their version of everything that's happened. That's kind of the situation with Dame Sylvia and Kirsch. But we've still got that last episode to go. I do wonder, Curly seems to be someone that is very close to Boy K, or wants to be very close to Boy K. She wanted to be the leader of the group. She's very close to Kirsch. She wanted to take the same role as Isaac had in the science lab. She wanted to be just as high up as he was, but she was being ignored by Isaac because he had that in mind as his job. So I wonder, will there be that tension of the science versus or the nature versus nurture, I guess, is the slight difference, right? Or the science versus nurture, maybe. Whether that comes up in next week's episode when we come back to what's happening with Curly. then. But back to the journey that we have from the labs out into the field and out to the boat to get away from the island of Neverland. Because on the journey, we have a moment where they find their own graves. Marcy and Nibs come across the graves of the bodies of the children that they were a few weeks ago. Nibs takes it one way, which is going, well, that's our body. We died. We're here. And Marcy instantly says, I don't think we are there.
It's
here.
not us.
We're
still here. Yeah, exactly. No, that was really interesting, them kind of coming across the graves of the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, this kind of walk then across the island to get to the key and to the boat so that they can escape, it kind of throws up that element for sure. I think also then, I guess it's where you have them being sort of found out by the Yutani team that are there, and then Wendy controlling the xenomorph to protect her. I mean, and that whole fight scene is really, really good, but it's also just when she like kind of cheers and chitters at it, and Joe says, well, what did you tell it? And she says, hide and follow, I think.
I think, yes. Very important that she isn't 100% sure, because she said that the pronunciation she's not 100% sure of in the past.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, the reaction of both of them there. Joe watching on while she's out in the open, chittering away to the xenomorph. He's still shocked at this. This looks inhuman on his sister as well, But then you have Nibs, who looks really, really excited and intrigued by this. She seems like she's in a world of wonder, seeing this alien creature being talked to by one of the other hybrids. She's fascinated by it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wide-eyed, really. It's like Christmas. Really trying to sort of picture this, I guess, teddy or whatever, given she's carrying around a teddy or stuffed toy around with her, and again then this is like, oh, this is the next best thing. And certainly the way she sees Wendy just talking to it, she goes, maybe I can do something like that. Almost you get that feel from her. But we do see here then Joe picking up a gun, one of the guns dropped by the massacred Yutani soldiers. Yeah. Because he also does say, well, you let it out. I don't think he doesn't quite catch that as they leave the research facility. He just kind of asks the question, what are you doing? Yeah, I love that he just literally turns away, and it is milliseconds later you see the xenomorph door opening. He just doesn't realize what's just happened and what his sister's just done. Yeah, exactly. But ultimately then down on the dock, that's where you have it really just going down very, very badly for, Nibs, clearly, Joe as well, not just with the fact that Wendy is absolutely kind of shocked about what he's just done to Nibs, but also that his team are one of the groups that are lying in wait in the boat, saying, I knew you'd come here. Yeah. Absolutely. And he's kind of pleading with them, no, we need to leave this island now. Joe also actually puts his hand over Wendy's mouth to stop her from calling the xenomorph. Yeah. And so you see the xenomorph holding back, at least at this stage, before the end of the show. You don't see it running down the dock like I thought you might do to attack the remaining soldiers. She's just screaming at Joe, like, what did you do? Yeah. But it is slightly different. He's not defending the Yutani soldiers. He's not defending Boy Kavalier's soldiers. This is Siberian Rashidi, who were on his team originally at the extraction point. They were the two people that were with him. And I think in the first episode, I'm almost certain, just before the crash happens, when he comes up to Siberia and he gives her a hug and calls her babe, as if there's some relationship between the two of them, more than them just being soldiers. Yeah. We haven't seen that in the show since then, but I did think there was some extra bond between the two of them, that they'd been working really closely together. Like she was the muscle and he was the medic, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
she knew he was going to be there. She warned him off coming there, and there she is waiting, going, I knew you were going to destroy this sweet deal that we have. I knew you were going to ruin this for us. We're here on this tropical island with minimal work to do, only a few jobs to do, a little bit of patrolling, and you're going to ruin this. You're going to get us all into trouble by trying to leave here and take the hybrids with you. And then it's Nibs that turns and rips off the jaw of one of the officers who's trying to arrest her and trying to take her back. One of the army guys that's trying to take her back. And then I am almost certain she beats him to death with his own jaw and then throws him into the ocean, because she doesn't drop it when she's punching him. She still has the jaw in her hand and drops it afterwards. So yeah, she is brutal. And I think you might be right. I think she's taking a bit of inspiration from the xenomorph attack that happened earlier on. This is the first time that she's really used the ultra-powered body that she has, the strength that she's gotten by being in this synthetic body. Yeah. And she's going all force just because he throws her teddy bear in the ocean, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, it is as well when Nibs is going, or about to, it looks like break Siberian's neck, or rip her jaw off, that Joe intervenes with the kind of mega taser thing that ultimately either powers her down or has kind of destroyed all the circuitry.
Yeah, well, you see the milk boiling inside her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
It's like her milk blood boiling, but just purely because you have the bullet holes which have exposed the kind of white blood underneath it, so it looks like it's boiling from the attack. So I guess what would that level of electricity do to a human body? I guess it does something similar to the synth body as well. So. I guess the synth, though, whilst it still has electrical components in there, it's like the same with Isaac. When they start to die, or if it's terminal, you hear that kind of whirring noise. The analog tape deck going down. Yeah. And I suppose if I knew how it all worked, that would be the difference between a nobody wants it and $1 billion idea, wouldn't it? Just to reference Atomites from earlier on in the season. Anything else about our Xeno warrior princess? Because I forgot to give it its name, John, as our point for this episode. Xeno warrior princess. Anything you want to mention about that at all?
Nothing really, other than what we've said, and I think it's just the general sort of nervousness by which not only Joe, but I think the audience are expected to view Marcy through now, given we know what she's capable of. We've seen her jumping off cliffs, running really quickly. We know they've got strength, but now she's also got effectively a sidekick, which is a xenomorph sidekick. And, she's angry at the world. She's angry at Dame Sylvia. She is angry at Prodigy. She's angry at Boy Kavalier. She's angry at Curly. She's now angry at Joe. And as I say, I think the interesting thing with the Curly exchange, it's almost, at least from Curly's perspective, is that she possibly is doing exactly what she thinks Boy Kavalier is doing to her, sort of trying to control her. I think Curly, right from the thing, wanted to go beyond Marcy or Wendy. We have that moment earlier in the season. And just briefly, I'm not saying that Wendy is, because ultimately Wendy allows Curly to stay where she is. But then Boy Kavalier has given Wendy lateral. So, you know, I just think in that instance, there's kind of a little bit of a convergence between those two characters around what they're trying to impose on people they perceive not necessarily to be equal to them.
And this is absolutely where I see a season 2 of the show, if it continues with the characters that we have here, whoever's left alive afterwards. I think it is something like Wendy on one side, now going out into the world, severing her ties with humanity, with maybe a xenomorph doggy in trail, And then we have Wendy back here, maybe in control of Prodigy alongside Kirsch, and those two are trying to find Wendy, who's out in the world. Maybe that's an idea for season 2. But it's a really interesting place to leave off the penultimate episode. We'll see how it goes next week on the finale. Yeah. I've got a couple of notes from the episode that I want to mention. Just a great one on the production design that I really noticed when we see Smee and slightly with Arthur walking up the beach. I was wondering why it was so dry. It didn't just look like tied out, it looked really dry. And then on the other side of the island, when we see Joe and Marcy and Nibs going towards the dock, we see a piece of dock equipment that's covered over by vines. And we see the same dock equipment when they do reach the boat in the dock. And it feels like this is talking about that change in climate that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the impact of climate change another 100 years on from where we are now, that the oceans are drying up a bit more and the size of this island is probably expanded out into the ocean a bit more. So what used to be a dock that they pass is now another quarter of a mile. I think they say when they're around there, that's about a quarter of a mile from there out to the actual docks. So, interesting. Yeah, so it feels like that's an impact of climate change. Couple of other things. When they show the gravestone of Marcy, it is listed as Marcy Hermit. I'd question on the first episode as to whether Joe was called Hermit as a nickname, and it wasn't his surname, but confirmed there. So it is Marcy and Joe Hermit. That's their two first names and surnames. Actually confirmed there. And the other one, we did get it confirmed in conversation what those people were doing, how we're spraying the walls down, because one of the suggestions for the host for the Teoculus, human host for the Teoculus, is a mold scrubber. The low IQ people who scrub the mold off the walls of Prodigy, and may be in for an upgrade. Maybe not. Maybe they won't understand it. Last one for me. The pie challenge from Boy K to the Teoculus as well. I really like that because we'd mentioned last week that it looked like the pie pieces in Trivial Pursuit, his eyeball when it's got the segments in it. So the pie challenge being dealing with the circumference and radius of a circle, as the little pie pieces are showing in the Teoculus's eye. I just thought it was quite funny that was the challenge that was done. Yep.
No, absolutely. For me, I think I just thought the look as Morrow and his infiltration team sort of come out of the sea was really, really cool. I liked the kind of look of that silhouette against the sky and the sea. It felt very Bond-like to me. With this infiltration team, I thought it looked really cool,
especially as they all throw off those really probably very expensive masks into the ocean as if they cost nothing.
So I did enjoy that.
That was very cool, very cool. Overall, then, John, what did you think of this episode of Alien Earth?
Again, I really, really enjoyed this. Give this 5 aliens in paradise out of 5. In many respects, it was a good action episode. Yes. There was a lot going on with the xenomorph killing the cleanup crew and soldiers, killing the Yutani crew. Again, the edginess and the creepiness of it all just comes through really nice, as well as sort of the loveliness of that can be kind of, as much as it can be, maintained. And in that sense, probably the only decent person remaining, Arthur, died because of all the indecent people around him. I mean, even with his wife, she doesn't really seem to stand up for him that much. Nope. When she's kind of being asked by Boy Kavalier, well, what's your sort of traitorous husband doing now? Because he didn't get on the transport. It's not even like she's concerned. Well, that's unlike him,
So don't blame me.
Exactly. It's just awful. They're all obnoxious in many respects. And actually, the purity comes through from, for me, Smee. I think Arthur had that within it. And I guess I do get the point that Wendy and Marcy is trying to make, which, in a sense, there's a purity with what the aliens are, the xenomorph indeed even the Teoculus. They don't try to be anything else.
Yeah.
They are what they are.
Absolutely. And dragged off their planet and took to our
and dragged off their
planet.
planet.
So, yes.
And that's that sort of similarity, that empathy that she feels to that situation.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed this. I still absolutely want to know what Kirsch is up to.
Me too.
But he's just so good. Timothy Oliphant.
Yep.
Loved just the one-liners coming from him. Loved the excitable Boy Kavalier here with Teoculus. The sort of weariness of Atom Irons going, oh, here we go again.
I'll make a list, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, just seeing the chaos unfold was really good. So yeah, for me, 5 aliens in paradise out of 5.
Fantastic. Really loved this episode. And one thing I wanted to note as well that we didn't mention while we were going through the full detail. We'd mentioned on episode 5 in Space No One that on the Maginot, we never saw any of the alien species of the xenomorphs through all their stages. Whereas here we saw every single stage of the xenomorph on Neverland. We saw the facehugger, we saw the chestburster, we saw the little alien after the chestburster. We saw the xenomorph as an adolescent, and then we saw the full-grown xenomorph attacking the army men on the island. So we've seen all 5 stages or all 4 stages, in this episode, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Didn't see the egg, but the facehugger comes from the egg, so that's okay.
No, we did, because we see... No, we saw the egg in this episode, because Kirsch, from outside of the secure lab, closes the egg
there you go.
Cell first. So you see it through a monitor, but you do see it.
Yeah, excellent. So you see every single version of the xenomorph here. When we joked that during the Imagine episode, we don't see any of them.
Yeah.
So,
I still believe we're going to get some awful end credit scene. And by awful, I mean
fabulous.
that in the end, it's insects that or bacteria that will, rule the world, because I just feel they're going to suddenly, there's going to be this flying camera shots towards New Siam and sort of down into the sewers of New Siam as this large amount of larval stage of the ticks are sort of getting into the water.
Getting into the water, absolutely.
So yeah, because we've not seen them since the ship. I don't get the sense that they're on Neverland. I think maybe you've seen them. Yeah,
there are definitely the 2.
Yeah,
but maybe not the extra ones that were created.
No, absolutely.
Excellent stuff. I think that's it for our thoughts on the episode. If you want to send your thoughts into us, you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or as usual, you can go over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. As we mentioned, we are going to record a little bit late next week, so that'll give you time to get your thoughts in on the full season. We'd love to hear your thoughts as we get into the last episode of Alien Earth.
Yes, indeed. First up on our feedback from our lovely Lost Boys and Girls, as well as our fellow aliens, we have Coffee and Vodka, who says, "Greetings, Great Escape Defenders. In quotes, who is the girl with the xenomorph ally? Everyone knows it's Wendy." Which is to the tune of a song called Windy, and the lyrics of that song by The Association, who I've never heard of, but I can see that it could be quite a romp. It very the Monkees in that sense, in terms of era and
Style. Yes, yeah. We're just trying not to get a copyright strike, so we won't be singing it. We usually avoid that by having our other host Chris sing it, who has absolutely no tune in his head.
And then also, just because the actual lyric says everyone knows it's Wendy, just feel like Butters from South Park. Everyone knows it's Wendy. That's me. So. Yes, thank you, Coffee and Vodka, for that. Coffee and Vodka goes on, and Hermit has officially rocketed to the top of my shit list. Beyond this, it's hard to say much, as this is very much half of a 2-part closer. We'll say it's nice to finally see what Kirsch's game was. Turns out it was chess against Morrow. We'll see if there's any further twists to that tale. Speaking of seeing, there's no doubt who is to be the recipient of a brand new identity. Identity being spelt EYE-DENTITY. Who knows? It might make her a better therapist.
Ooh.
And who'd have thunk here at the end that Kavalier would have dropped to number 3 on the comeuppance list. A good thing time flies, as I can't wait for the next episode. 4.5 slightly bad timings, Trader Joe's, and artificial inseminations out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and vodka.
Fantastic.
Excellent stuff. Coffee and vodka. Artificial inseminations. Love
That's my
it.
favourite. Definitely.
I quite like slightly bad timings as well.
That's good
because
too.
all the way through this episode of the podcast, I've been going, and slightly blames Dame Sylvia, and I'm like, oh no, there's an actual character called Slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Potentially, Dame Sylvia could be the one with the new identity.
I think it's just because she said, and now that they've gotten rid of Arthur, and now that Arthur's dead as well, but now they've gotten rid of Arthur, she's the only one that can potentially reprogram hybrids left.
That's what I mean. I
so
think
that's
that would
why
be
I
a
think
huge
she's off
risk.
the list. Yeah.
I put it this way: he's so excitable. It might be that he's not fully thinking this through properly.
Yes.
So I think it could be her. It crossed my mind as well, for sure.
Yeah.
But then I was also like going, but it's too much of a risk for the current hybrid program because she's effectively the main or the head researcher on it now.
And it would just be so perfectly Boy K to look at Adam Einst and go, well, you don't really do anything around here other than be my right-hand man. You can have the eyeball stuck inside you, can't you? You know, that's like when I watched it this morning, because of how almost cheeky Boy K was throughout the episode, I was in no doubt there was anybody else, because Boy K had come to the conclusion he wanted it in the body of a human. The suggestion came from Adam Einst, and the way that he said it just sounded like, oh, that's a great suggestion. We'll sort you out. We'll fit you now with your outfit, and put you under so that so it won't hurt. Thanks very much for the suggestion. I'll talk to you when the eyeball is inside your head, you know? Yeah. But then as you think about it afterwards, you go, okay, no, maybe there is Joe there. He doesn't know that Arthur's dead and has a vendetta against him, so maybe he wants to use Arthur. Does he think there's a way to attach it to one of the hybrids, instead of attaching it to an actual organic human? Maybe that's something else that he might have been thinking about.
Exactly.
But yeah, loads of opportunities.
And I think whilst you used a chess metaphor for how Morrow and Kirsch played out, I think we were using a snooker metaphor with the angles. So I think the only thing I would say on that is, has the game finished?
Yeah.
Has it actually concluded yet, or is it still being played? It certainly is, because I do like the line from Kirsch, when Morrow says, this hasn't ended, and Kirsch just goes, it never does.
Never does.
In his experience, his long experience as a synth,
there's
always games to be played. Certainly when you're dealing with the likes of Boy Kavalier and the head of Utani.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
And thank you for the association video to put that tune into our heads for
gonna stop
for the Wendy lyric.
Absolutely,
yes, indeed,
absolutely. Thanks, Coffee Vodka. Over on Facebook, Paul Tenshi Lee says, another amazing episode. I have closure on the flash of the scene of Slightly and Smee pulling Arthur's body on a raft dropped into the title sequence in episode 3. Brilliant stuff, Paul. Well remembered. That was the one that we were trying to think about last week. What could that have been? But it was a flash to this episode. Paul continues, I have so many questions which are best answered by the season finale or even a second season of the show. I can't even imagine how the season could end and we'd still get a season 2 with the bulk of our main characters still around. Okay, focus. Can Isaac come back? Good hardware design would have his memories and thought patterns backed up locally and remotely. We know some of his experiences are remotely archived because we got his point of view when Boy K reviews what happened in the lab. Related, how damaged is Nibs/Rose? Joe clearly understood that regular bullets may not stop a hybrid, and he clearly made sure his weapon was in zap mode before shooting her. She is clearly not in a good state, but she's also not as damaged looking as Isaac. I think Boy K has Arthur in mind as the iMidge's next victim, but he doesn't know that Arthur is dead, only that he didn't get in the plane leaving Neverland. With Arthur gone, he does need Dame Sylvia to run the hybrid program, so she's out. Assuming the team at the dock doesn't get taken out by Wendy's xenomorph, he'll get her and Joe back, and Joe is high on his list as a test subject. The final possibility is Morrow, which might be Kirsch's choice. Can't wait till next Tuesday. Excellent, Paul. Great thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like the thoughts of who does Boy K have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Arthur is a potential. I would agree with you around Dame Sylvia. And yeah, I should say Arthur was a potential.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of like the notion Joe could be high on his list, and that ultimately he might get swayed to include Morrow. As I say, there's something just because of the way that scene played out. I immediately thought, like, as you've mentioned already, Derek, well, let's just get Atom Mines. Like, he's next to me already, so he has all the memories that I need the Oculus to sort of connect into through the optic nerve into his brain.
Yeah. Poor Atom Mines. Not poor Atom Mines. I've hated the character. I love the actor, of course, but the character's a horrible, horrible man as well. So 2 for 1, really. Could be one in the eyeball of Atom Mines, and then he takes out Boy K. Both of them with the same eyeball could be a good way to go. Just on your question about whether Isaac will return, we don't really know whether Nibs will return after next week's episode, because it all happens at the end. Usually you go, well, maybe she'll stand up in 10 seconds time and she's fine, or not great, but alive. Isaac is definitely gone, and the conversation that's had between Boy K and Kirsch that we mentioned earlier on, where Boy K says to him, is there a possibility of backup and restore? Kirsch says theoretically, but it's not in practice yet, and Boy K effectively calls Isaac $6 billion down the drain because he can't bring him back. This may be something that they'll solve in the future, but I think they have other problems on their hands, so we're probably not going to see Isaac back this season, or ever.
Agreed. I mean, the only thing I would say is we've seen them wipe memories from the past, so there is at least a local retention of those memories within the actual synth body. Yeah, it's difficult not to think that there wouldn't be a remote backup here for something this expensive, but equally, maybe it's dealing with memories rather than just, yes, you can boil that down to pure data of 1 and 0s from a digital perspective, but, I guess it might be, this is a consciousness element, but I mean, equally, they've created hybrids, so we can also let go of disbelief that they may also have an actual backup. And as well, just from a pure physical point of view, they are synths. There would be a mold for Isaac. So I think physically you could have them looking the same, for sure, as Tootles and Nibs if they are gone. So you could have a similar physical appearance.
I just would probably say they've created these synths for the first time. They're the first time that they've ever existed on the entire planet. They haven't even launched them to the world, so there are kinks and there are things that need to be resolved. Even Dame Sylvia talking about that last week with Nibs. We need to wipe your memory because we knew there were always going to be some problems. You were never going to be perfect, and this might be a way around it. Didn't work out great and at that moment, but one of the kinks that in that conversation that we hear Boy K say is there isn't a backup, there isn't a restore functionality built. Maybe that was something that was going to be built into generation 6 of the hybrids when they get down to that stage. But as of right now, it's not built. But from a writing standpoint, there's no Hawley. If he wants to bring back the character of Isaac in 2 seasons' time or 3 seasons' time, played by this actor with all the memories up until the point that he was taken out by the fly, he absolutely can do that. It's a sci-fi story. There's ways around it, of course, definitely. So definitely not a no. But as always, Paul, thanks for your excellent thoughts on the episode. We will hopefully hear from you about the finale next week when we come back for our discussion on the final episode of Alien Earth, Season 1, Episode 8, The Real Monsters. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow Lost Boys and aliens, for joining us. Been great discussing this episode. Can't wait for the final episode. Until then, of course, though, keep watching, keep listening, and keep screaming.
Bye.
Bye. Slightly does absolutely feel, slightly more.
Slightly?
It all seems really farcical.
Yeah, it does.
Slightly stupid, really. Like
Slightly?
And it turns out that Morrow's gotten there before them.
no, Kirsch has.
And it turns out that Kirsch has gotten there before them.
Slightly?